So the things you see in Escondido. Happy Friday. Let's take my 7-year-old's bicycle through the weeds next to the highway and go see if we can buy some coffee.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me.
It's a pretty day in Escondido. We're at 78 degrees. Lovely for January. It has warmed up a nice bit. Gary and Mike, I think, are in this morning resealing the valve cover on the 545. So assuming that's done when I get there, we should be able to twist the key and see what happens. I do expect a better running engine because engines like to have 2 valves per cylinder, 2 intake valves per cylinder when they're designed to have 2 intake valves per cylinder. So assuming that misfire goes away on cylinder 2, then we're into the next part of the service. It's a huge can of worms with all the code stored in that car, like I said last night. So that's going to be a lot of stuff to chase. I don't think this engine issue is going to miraculously solve anything else either. Pulling into the dealership, we're greeted with a frozen blue F80 M3. SMG. Okay, it's Friday and I am so pissed and frustrated. It's 8 affected area. Some weather notification. It's hello, 8:22. Made a lot of progress on this until the end of the day. So yesterday the exhaust went back on and all that. Today I torqued the slave cylinder. I put the exhaust hangers on the front that were missing. Found leaky power steering hoses. Isn't that fun? I kept cleaning off this little drip on the lines that run from the cooler to the reservoir, and it kept coming back. So I replaced both of those lines. I was able to get the parts the same day, replaced the power steering reservoir, all the hardware in the O-rings, filled the system up with fresh fluid. That seems to be dry. Got the belly pans back on. That was a bitch. Couldn't get the 2 little clips over here to go, so I had to pull the pork chop, press down on them an extra millimeter. I bent it, so it should be okay next time. Pans back on, started it, went for a little drive. Every time I'm on the brakes below 30 miles an hour, it's like there's a quarter welded to one of the rotors. It's just pulsating. So pulled fuses 17 and 30 for the ABS module, defeat DSC. Obviously the trifecta comes on, then it's fine. So it thinks that one of the wheels is locking up or sticking and DSC keeps activating and pulsing the pump. Did bleed the brakes twice more today. I think we got all the bubbles out after cycling the ABS pump in IMPA. We couldn't get it to work in the ISTA. So looked at the live data from the ABS module and the wheel speed sensors driving around the parking lot. The rear left sensor is occasionally dropping out. 99% of the time it's the same as the rear right when going in a straight line. 1% of the time it's like 17, 17, 17, 12, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 9. So the system is looking at that dropped value and thinking something's going on with this rear left wheel and pulsating the pump. Now, why? I wanted to replace this sensor because it had corroded and swollen and was busting out of the wheel carrier, though it was still working, and I should have just let it be. It was working fine. But I decided to try to take it out. We ended up having to drill it out, drill out the threads, helicoil it. We got it to torque back in. It looked good. So either we've got a bad sensor. That's best case scenario. I've got a new Bosch sensor coming on Monday. We'll swap that and try it. If that doesn't work, when I swap it, I'm also going to clean that out with compressed air, some brake clean, really make sure there's no metal debris or any shavings or anything in there on the reluctor ring on the rear bearing. If all of that doesn't work, then we've got a bad wheel carrier, and Nate calls it the Z angle appropriately. So it's not going in far enough or it's out too far, and it's just not getting a good reading on that sensor. So at that point, I would need to replace the wheel carrier, which I really, really, really don't want to do. That is the very first part of the rear suspension that everything attaches to. So obviously the wheel, brake, parking brake, all of that's got to come off. Rear ball joint, rear H-arm, links, strut, control arms, wishbones, and guide links. Everything would have to come apart on this rear carrier. The ball joint's not that old. You really want to do them in pairs. It would essentially turn into a full rear suspension rebuild, which I don't want to do it. The car doesn't need it, minus this issue with the wheel speed sensor port. So that's what we're going to be looking at next week. Wish me luck. The 545 got bank 1 valve cover put back together. Start it. Misfires. Cylinders 5 and 7. Not 2 anymore. So we look at 5 and 7, pull the injector O-rings. We could hear a vacuum leak, spray brake clean in there, and the engine picks up and revs. So it's ingesting that alcohol and burning it. So Pulled the fuel injectors out, 5 and 7. Somehow the O-rings fell off during reinstallation. Didn't have any in stock. They're coming Monday. At that point, we should have a working 545 for the first time in 5 months. Didn't even get to Silverstone today. That car, we just had the wheels rebalanced. It's fine. I drove it last night. It's about ready to go. Got to figure out why the keys don't work, and no, it's not Fuse 53. This one is back. This is, what's his name? Kong. This is Kong's 2000 M5 awesome license plate, King Kong. We noted that the shifter was really weird. First gear was way up there. Neutral was kind of where first should be, and 2, 4, and 6 were where neutral should be. So the shifter was way messed up. It was really difficult to get in reverse. Now it is stuck in first gear. Will not depart first gear. Engine off, engine on, doesn't matter. It smells like clutch. It's really hard to push, even with the clutch pushed in. I think the clutch detonated, and somehow the transmission is jammed in gear, which is not a good thing. So we know the shifter's all messed up. We're going to start on this sometime next week. Got to pull the exhaust and really get a look in there. Probably pull the, yeah, we will pull the drive shaft. He is expecting us to rebuild the shifter, replace some front control arms, and rear missing jack points that are missing. We have those here, have all the parts in stock, but I'm betting he's going to need a clutch, probably a flywheel if it's original. So that's going to add time and significant expense to this job. We're also replacing these tires with the extra set that I was sent. I didn't want to send them back, so if they bill me for them, when they bill me for them, they'll be paid for. They're just going to this guy, no profit. So that's what's going on here. I am so dead and tired and exhausted and disappointed after all of this time and expense. I still don't have a car that drives. It drives, just not right. So on Monday, I have an alignment scheduled for 1 p.m. I don't think that's going to happen unless I'm able to get that speed sensor in there and verify that it was a bad sensor and or there was debris in the way. Because if I'm going to have to pull that rear suspension apart, obviously that's going to be in alignment. So, damn. Well, happy Friday. I wish mine were better. I'm going to end this here. I'm going to go home and shower and just go to bed. So we'll talk on Saturday.